I say work hard is just, putting all your time into just to trying to accomplish what you can, and like, success or fail or accomplish or not accomplish, at least you could say you spent a lot of your time trying to get the job done. That's working hard to me.
Before we get into this episode, I know you've been struggling with the idea of starting your own business and launching a premium product that you know is going to transform lives. So I have a bomb resource for you. The man himself, Words Taylor, is going to help you launch your product or service for the clients who need your help right now. Now, you can't call yourself a business owner unless you are getting in front of new clients every single day, and Words knows exactly how to do that. All you have to do is tap in so he can teach you his 6-figure launch strategy that's produced over $5 million in client sales. So all you have to do is go to highticketlaunchsecrets.com. That's highticketlaunchsecrets.com and get into the free training. It's happening this week. So go to highticketlaunchsecrets.com and let's get into the episode. Welcome back to another episode of the Work and Play Podcast. I'm your host, Ariel Young, and I have a great guest here to join me, Mr. Safir Monroe. How are you?
Pretty good. Thank you for having me on your show, your podcast. I'm sorry, appreciate it. I feel good. It's beautiful in here.
Look, you are already, you made yourself so comfortable. It's cool. Well, you are the movie guy. We'll get into that. But
slowly but surely. Tom Cruise, James Bond.
Like, seriously, nah, you got the whole stilo. And so you and I met years ago before we both quit our the 9 to 5 that we were at together. Mm-hmm. And when I met you, your mindset was always like destined to be greater than whatever it was that we were in the moment. And for me, I don't know if you know this, but like it was one of those things that just kept reminding me that, there is more out there. I was like, these little random, exchanges at the picnic table really just kind of gave me a little fuel to my fire. So one, I want to say thank you for that.
No problem. It was great talking to you. Sometimes it's cold in the office, so we would both just be walking around outside to get some heat. It was a perfect time sitting at the picnic table, reflecting on life.
That's a fact. That's a fact. So without further ado, because before we get too far into it, who are you and how do we introduce you?
Oh, well, I say, how's everybody doing? My name is Safir Monroe, CEO of UnDelay, which is a proprietary startup that has proprietary technology that helps airlines, airports, and travel companies identify the cause of flight delays by analyzing radio transmissions using machine learning.
Nice.
So that's my typical intro for me and the company of UnDelay. So we have a lot of different beta customers in the airline industry, and in travel, had contracts for airports. We were in the Georgia Tech Accelerator program as well. Just graduated from that, so hopefully we'll have some great news upcoming the next couple months.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good stuff in the ether, absolutely.
Yeah, let's put it up there.
Now, you introduce yourself as a company that helps understand why flights are delayed, right? Yeah. So how did you identify that this was even a solution or a problem that you wanted to provide a solution to?
Definitely. So I just saw with me just working in the industry. I worked a lot in the airport, even like nights and weekends after my full-time job. Just working with the airport and the hackathons. I've talked to too many aviation experts. I understood the industry, and just from my background, just from being surrounded by so many people, I understood that was a huge problem. So maybe about a year and a half. I've been doing a lot of different things, different contracts in the aviation industry, but I really figured out that there was so much data that was around the industry, but it wasn't used and aggregated in a way that I felt like could be most efficient. Mm-hmm. And I know that just the drive in general of the world, and every industry is creating massive amounts of data and then utilizing it to make data-driven decisions. So I feel like that's the future of the world, mm-hmm. and I wanted to be a part of that future, but focus on the aviation industry just because I had so much knowledge behind it.
You had so much knowledge behind it. But one of the unique things about the airline industry is people who've been in the airline industry for like 20 plus years, they're like geeks about it. I remember being in like meetings and people just like goof off for 15 minutes talking about, oh yeah, the wingspan and the engine. And I'm like, yo, I'm not passionate about this. So like, you had a lot of knowledge in the airline industry, but what were you actually like passionate about?
Definitely. So I mean, I think in terms of it, the industry, like I'm really passionate about technology in general. Just about what's going on. Like my degrees in mechanical engineering. I worked as software engineer at Delta, software engineer at NCR, and I developed mobile apps for startups across the country, as well as maybe some in Canada, and I believe some in Europe, but they were based in Europe as well. So it's really just about helping different tech companies with their technology. So in terms of the aviation industry, I've read different books like air traffic control, manuals, aviation operation books. There's a really great one, I believe it's by Cheng-Lung Wu, and it kind of describes a lot of different delay management problems and airline operations. And after reading that book, I kind of had a understanding of everything that was going on, and then the understanding of why flights get delayed, how they get delayed, what can make them better, what can optimize them. And that book kind of showed me like, okay, like this is the future of the industry, like within like data processing and how like to make it better and how like different things are modeled. Because it just, all of those aviation like, articles and books, they model things like in a mathematic way that I kind of just understood more. So just from that, I said, I think this is a problem that I could solve.
Yeah, and because your passion is technology, you decided to solve a well-known issue in the airline industry through what you're actually passionate about.
Yeah. So because I just chose the industry just because of my exposure, right? I feel like a lot of people like a lot of people choose to solve problems they're exposed to, for a lot of companies that they deal with, so like a lot of people that intern at game companies start their own game companies, or intern IT companies start their own IT companies. So since I just started my professional working career at an airline, I figured that I probably should stay in the industry just because I know so much about it. So I was like, so exposed to it. But as long as it's always in technology and the advanced parts of technology, then I'm comfortable with it.
Okay, as long as it's in technology, you're comfortable with it. Now, back when I met you, and the funny thing is, it's so hazy now, but I feel like we made like such a connection, and maybe with like one or two, maybe three interactions. Do you remember it that way?
I think we had like three like really long conversations. Like let's say during lunch period, so we won't get in trouble.
Get in trouble. It was you who literally. And the thing is, back then, sitting in those, like having those conversations with you, if I could have predicted both of our lives, I mean, like you are a startup, a CEO of a startup, but I would just have assumed that you would have been a full-time entrepreneur way before I even have thought about it, right?
Yeah.
Because even though it was on our lunch break, you was just more so like, F the system. It felt like you were just like, nah, F the system. Like, you're not cocky, but you also are very real about like your contribution to this world, like what value you add. Like, I just want to.
I'm realistic. Like, of course, like all jobs are like a lot of jobs are necessary, but I just knew that working at different jobs here and there, and I still of course still have a job, but it's like do I want to climb up the ladder and be the CEO that way, or do I want to say, hey, let me do my own thing, let's see how much money I can make from my own thing, and then get to a point where I'm the CEO another way, right? So that people have their different ways. I just think that was a faster path. And a lot of companies that people have relationships sometimes with their first companies, first adopters, and huge investors, right? Especially a lot of Fortune 500 companies that are in Atlanta. I met this one guy that's over his company. I forgot the name of it, but has like a lot of contracts, and he worked as a consultant, for 10 plus years. And a lot of companies that he worked with, eventually he built relationships with them, and they got them landed their first contract with those companies. So, it's just really about different ways to do it in life, And I'm not to down anybody that wants to climb that ladder, but I mean, of course, like us being black, one, two, it's just not portrayed as achievable. I would say, like, just to be honest, like, we know that a lot of those corporate ladders, it's not only a lot of like games you have to play, but you know, you have to look a certain way, dress a certain way, act a certain way, and I'm gonna be me.
Always.
I'm gonna be myself. And of course, like, it's not, you know, publicizes that, but now you have social media and it's showing that, you know, that you can't really get to certain places without being a certain way or, you know, fitting into that system, which is unfortunate, right? Because not a lot of it is due to, you know, how hard somebody works or what they do, but, you know, you have to play that game. And some people want to play it, you know, I'm, you know, of course, friendly, nice, but, you know, if you're not like willing to go that extra mile to, you know, do a lot of those things or play a lot of those games, then it's gonna be tough for you.
Yeah, I agree. So you've already become a CEO of your own tech firm and you're still employed. So is this the like happy balance for you, or is like full-time entrepreneurship ever a thing?
Well, you know, of course, you know, I have investors now from my company, right? And I also have partners. So, you know, we definitely, you know, it's a known thing. So you get a certain amount of investment, you have to be full time. Okay. Right. But, you know, I love the company I'm working for now. But of course, like, you know, if you're a millionaire, you know, in stock, or, you know, if you're, you know, a certain point in the company, like, you know, you can't work, you know, 40 hours a week. However, you know, I'll always be connected to my peers, you know. In one way of fashion form.
I was thinking, have you ever read Go Givers?
I don't know.
So Go Giver is a pretty dope book. Long story short, there's a character in the book where he makes a ton of money, and the younger, I would say, partner is like, "Why do you still work here?" Like he like, "I just love what I do." So like, not to knock your company or anything, but based on what you do you love it enough to like do it in any form while you're still running your business?
So I mean, well, in terms of the business, like, let's say, you know, you have a certain, once I have a certain amount of clients, right, I would have to work full time in it. However, I do, you know, love the people that I work with right now. You know, and then like, you know, social gatherings, social events. It's a really great thing. And in terms of technology, like, you know, I'm a tech guy, period, and there's futurism, so it's cool. Like, I like it a lot, but I'm in love with the technology for my company, right? Because that's like, you know, what I'm building now, it's like, you know, 5 or 10 years, like, it could be much bigger than what it is right now. So there's a better path for it. Yeah. But I wouldn't. Yeah, I'd say I'm in love with the people and the culture. Yeah. Coming to work with right now.
It's refreshing to hear. Refreshing to hear your perspective, because you know, I'm very much gung-ho about full-time entrepreneurship and just leaping out and trusting yourself and counting on yourself. But I do respect the strategic play. That's why I talk about exit strategies, because there's a strategy behind you doing what you're doing. And if it's not killing you, if it's not stressing you out, then why change it? So I appreciate your perspective from that regard. And if you love the people, that just makes it way easier for you to be like, instead of being like, look.
It's completely different. It's different environment. And then, like, it's a completely different environment. But, you know, hey, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, I feel it.
In certain other situations, you gotta do what you gotta do. But
I feel it. Yeah. Hey, you have now created the option for you to do whatever you want to do. So I remember when we met, we dove into your childhood really, really like fast. Like, I feel like I told you, I feel like your parents kind of mentored me through you. So if we go back to your childhood, you know, what is your degree in?
Mechanical engineering. So I graduated from Howard.
You graduated from Howard, HBCU.
Yeah, HBCU, yeah.
Dang.
You know, top university in the world in my eyes. Great place. I mean, I learned a lot. I learned programming, learned engineering, I learned, you know, calculus. I learned how to think more efficiently. You know, it's a really, really great school.
Did you always know you wanted to be a mechanical engineer?
No, I mean, in high school, I think there was a college prep school, so there's like, you know, choose a major, and I was Google like what makes the most money, what's the broadest of it. Mechanical engineer popped up, and I was like, well, that's me.
And you didn't have any like interest in it. You just literally.
I mean, it was like science, engineering. Okay. I was like, what's hard, what's science, you know. My mom was a science teacher, you know, and then like it's a lot of, you know, great science programs in Jersey, where I'm from, trained in Baltimore. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's not where the money at. You know, they got all the free food. So like that's the way.
Free food. I don't
Well, all the science
understand. I'm not a
programs.
science person.
All the science, you know, all the programs. I'm like, they're like, hey, look, fluids, free food. Here's free, you know, everything, free events. And they was like, look, just talk about this, talk about that. So I just always gravitated to the events where they was always talking about, you know, science stuff. So. And that's where the money is, you know. So I'm like,
It just so happens to be where the money at, and it just so happens to be where your passion is.
yeah, it's combined, you know, because I mean, that's not everybody's passion. So, and you shouldn't really. I don't think you should do something that you're not passionate about, because it's gonna be difficult, you know.
That's a word. Like you don't think anybody should be able to do something that they're not passionate about. Like people do it all the time.
Yeah.
You know, like we live in a world where 90% of the population are doing things that they're not passionate about.
Yeah, and it's there because it's like, I mean, most people can't find out what their passion is. So like I feel like a lot of people, they complain like, you know, I don't like this. Well, what do you like? And they say, I don't know. And that's from all ages. That's from people in high school and people that's like in the middle of their life, you know, 40s and 50s. Like they don't know. A lot of people don't know what they want to do. But people spend, you know, they're 40 hours a week, you know, doing what gets them money, but, you know, they don't make sure they take the time out to focus on themselves and say, okay, what hobby can I pick up?
Yeah.
Right? Because just because somebody isn't passionate about their job doesn't mean that, you know, they don't quote unquote like it. But, you know, there's a lot of things that, you know, people probably more passionate about that don't make money, but you got to feed yourself.
Facts.
Right? Like, you know, I think, yeah, like, there's so many different passions, but, you know, you just gotta figure out stuff. Like, I mean, you know, movie stuff. Like, that'll make money, but it's funny.
Speaking of movies, last time we talked, you invited me and brought a homegirl of mine to an event that you were getting an award for UnDelay, your company, your tech company. And so a couple months ago, I want to say it was the beginning of this year, or like the end of last year, where I saw you, you know, playing around with like a movie, and then all of a sudden, a couple months later, you get an award. So what was that about? That was your hobby, right?
Yeah, that wasn't even a hobby. So
wasn't.
during I've never like even growing I've never thought of myself like act anything. Like, I've never wanted to do any of that stuff. And then like during COVID, I was like I kind of after COVID, like, because Atlanta never really shut down really. People still going out, but
Yeah.
I think like during it, I was like, you know, everybody was picking up new hobbies. I started like, you know, painting again. Like everybody was learning something, and I was like, you know, maybe I should like make a movie. And I told those my friends, I was texting, and I'm like, everybody was saying, yeah. I was like, oh, let's make it happen. So I did like maybe 3 or 4 scenes, and then people were like, this is hilarious. And then like I felt like I got halfway during the movie, and I got tired, but people kept texting me like, when's the movie coming out? When's the movie coming out? And I'm just like, dang, I gotta actually finish it.
Yes.
So then I finished as a joke, put on YouTube, and people liked it. But then I was wondering, like, you know, like, how do people even market films? And they go to film festivals most, and they don't really pay for ads like that, especially for independent films. So I submitted to film festivals worldwide, and I started winning awards. And I was like, wow, like, I can't believe it. Like, people like around the world are actually watching this and liking it. So I got like 4 or 5 awards on IMDb certified, and I got like 3 trophies, 2 trophies and 1 on the way. And I was like, wow,
What?
that was crazy.
What was the okay, so all I remember, I told you this, all I can remember was the one clip that I watched where you like on a parking deck and like, it's like either somebody got kidnapped, you like, mission, this is the mission. And I'm like, what is going on here? So what's the storyline behind your movie?
It was literally like, I did like 3 commercials that have absolutely nothing to do with the movie. Like, it was, I just made random stuff, because the thing is, like, people was like, are you talking? But like, I'm just like how we're recording now, like, I just like recorded my voice, like, I got 3 days until everyone dies. So like random stuff, like I would just say stuff like that. I would post it on IG, and people like, yo, this is like a spy movie. Or I was like, oh, the helicopter's exploding. And then I just black it out, and people thought like there's a helicopter exploding. Some people thought I had a real helicopter. I'm like, no.
You really manufactured a whole like action movie in your house, just like,
yeah,
at the desk?
So like that, the scene where I had the parking lot was it was like, yeah, my house. But like the other scenes, like my friend's house, like a bunch of my friend's house, like in random places in Atlanta, like some places in Atlantic Station. Yeah, it was just like a bunch of places, and I just had like my drone. And it's crazy film. filming is tough because there's a lot of fake guns in the movie. So like, so we were shooting, and like we had fake guns out. People were looking at us. I'm like, oh, we gotta leave. They're gonna call the cops.
I'm trying to tell you, especially after freaking George Floyd and
Yeah. And I was like, oh, we definitely gonna get shot. But it's crazy
it would have been a
because
real action film.
it would, yeah, facts. Like, you know, I'm telling you, like, so only like, yeah, like even when I was in Atlantic Station, I had like my drone like flying like for like the rooftop scenes, like a lot of different places. But I filmed like in different times, so like, you know, eventually the police were like, hey, look, we can't fly a drone around here. They found me.
Did?
Yeah. Yeah, it did. But like the last part of the scene where I have my gun, like I had to film that separately because I'm like, if they catch me with a gun, it's over.
Because they already told you. But you still haven't told us what's the storyline behind the film.
Oh, right. All right, so the storyline is like, okay, the coronavirus evolves and everybody starts turning into zombies from the COVID. So it's like people start coughing and then they just start turning into zombies. So and then it's crazy because like some of the scenes, like my friends were coming and then I feel like they were rescheduling. So I was like, dang, I don't think I'm gonna be able to get my friends in some of the scenes. So I played their parts. And I was like, and when I tell you, it was hilarious. Like I was calling my friend OJ, and he was like, bro, it's gonna be much better film if you play those parts. And I'm like, man, like I'm really gonna have to. And then I did it, and I'm just like, this is hilarious.
How long did it take you to edit this whole project? And how long is the project?
So I mean, it's about like 53 minutes.
Wow.
But literally, like, so, you know, editing's like a computer to edit is expensive, like thousands of dollars. So I bought an iMac for $3,500, but I had 2 weeks to refund it. So I bought the iMac, and I was editing every day, and I was like, whatever doesn't make sense, it's just not gonna get edited. I mean, because it was like I'm not a perfectionist, so I'm like, I get the job done. And you know, and then by any means, but it's like, look, I'm a realist. Like, if the budget is $0 for the post production, and I have $3,500 for other things, then hey, like I'm gonna have the you know, of course, like, you know, artists will tell you don't rush the editing process, but a businessman will tell you I need my money back. Look. So Safir the artist is not really a person. It's more like Safir the businessman with the hobby. So, you know, I had to be like, look, I have 2 weeks to edit. So I had to edit the movie. I had to edit 15 minutes of video and audio in like 2 weeks. So I had to learn. I learned a lot though, like about color grading, all that stuff. I didn't even know how to focus a camera until I made that movie. And I learned like mid-film.
Wow. So half the film is like you just like figuring it out.
Yeah, I had to learn like film and cutting and editing and sound editing and all those like sound editing features and how to work the equipment. Yeah. And I filmed the whole thing on my phone.
And the drone.
Yeah. I was like, I'm not gonna buy a camera or I'm gonna film on my phone. So yeah, my friends just came out. We had a good time though. Like one of my friends, he used to do miming in high school, and I didn't know how to do zombie makeup. And then even my friend, I was like, can you do makeup? And she like, you know how to do zombie makeup? So my friend was like, I know how to do it, right? But he was like a mime, so how he did makeup, like it was just like a white face, and then like blood on it. And I was like, bro, this look crazy. And then I was like,
that's what made it even more funny, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was more funny. I had to put his face on the flyer, and then my other friend, like his eyes were burning. He was like, bro, like because the sweat from like running as zombies, it was dripping down his eye. Yeah. So, you know, I was like, bro, like, I'm sorry, like, we gotta like leave. Like it was crazy.
The top 3 responses that I get when I ask, why do you want to leave corporate America, are that you want financial freedom, you want to own your own time, and you want to build a legacy for this generation and generations to come. Now, this is not a solo job. In order to transition from your 9 to 5 into entrepreneurship, it's going to take community and it's going to take resources. And I've created the community of pioneers who are going to wrap around you and help you make that transition successfully. So if you're interested in leaving your job, go ahead and click that information below. Let's get into the community and let's transition from your 9 to 5 into entrepreneurship successfully. Now let's get back to the episode.
It was funny though. And then I had like those huge guns. I'm like, okay, we gotta hide these guns. Yeah, my other friend, you know, when he had his gun, Yeah, we was like running through Atlantic Station. I'm just like, yeah, we gotta leave. Too many people saw us. So soon as people saw us, I'm like, yeah, it's time to go.
Y'all gonna cause all kind of like red flags.
All fake props though.
Absolutely, I can imagine. Yeah.
All fake.
Disclaimer.
All fake props. Disclaimer.
So it took you two weeks to edit it. How long did it take you to film the whole project?
Like 4 months.
4 months.
Yeah.
And this was all like during Corona, so it's like a much like more downtime.
Everybody more downtime. Everybody's like, this was launched the movie January 1st this year, so 4 months would be like right before that. So December, November, October, and September.
Okay, and then you edited it, and then you launched it.
Yeah, I edited in the 2 weeks like right before January 1st, and then I launched it.
Okay, and then you somehow got curious about marketing films, and so you submitted to the film festival.
Yeah,
it picks up, and then it started getting an award. Did you end up making any money from it?
Oh, nah, I lost all that. Between me and my brother produced the film. I think we spent like $3,500 on it completely, both of us. But I had some companies reach out to me for certain types of deals. But I'd rather just keep all the rights to it and have it on YouTube. I'm sure I could have made some money here and there, but I'd rather like keep all the rights than make like chump change. It's kind of like
make no money than chump change.
Yeah, I'd rather keep it like it's like a painting. Like I feel like I'm painting like really huge boards.
You do?
Yeah, I have some paintings, but I feel like if I sell it, I think it's gonna be worth. But like, let's say like I get like famous one day, and then the painting's gonna be worth a lot more. I'm like, I'd rather just have like $1,000 painting than sell it, because it's like $1,000, like $4,000 or $5,000 painting, and just keep it in my house. So yeah, that's worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I just want to have what's mine. Because that's you can't replicate that. Like that movie, I can't replicate that.
What do they want to do? Like the deals, they wanted to like put it on the big screen?
No, there's a lot of distribution companies. They want to buy like small independent films, like lower budget, and they lease it out to different distribution centers across the world.
Netflix and DVDs and stuff like that.
Yeah, like a lot of streaming platforms, online. A lot of ones you never hear about, but people like watch all over the world. But we had talks and conversations, but I in terms of the numbers, I'm like, I'd rather just keep it. Because I had to sign any deal, I had to take it off YouTube. So then I'm like, well, if I take it off YouTube and put it on all these platforms, like any platform that's like not Netflix, Amazon, huge platforms, or like Hulu, like the movie's too low to watch any of those platforms, but any platform not like that, the only ones that anyone can see is YouTube. If I put on all those platforms, like yes, like other people can see it everywhere, but one, I can't own it, and two, the people that I know probably, wouldn't have direct access to it. And that was the thing for me. Like if I want to show them the video to somebody, I could do that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to have to navigate.
Go through all that red tape and create problems for yourself.
Yeah, because there's too many legalities. And in contracts, I'm not a lawyer, but first I read like some contracts like 40 pages, 50 pages, and I read it and I'm like, you know what? I don't like the terms. So by the time, if I don't like the terms from like what I research and when I read, that's like in plain English versus lawyer jargon, then by the time I send it to a lawyer, he's probably gonna red market even more crazy. So I might as well just walk away from the deal.
How many subscribers do you have on YouTube?
I don't even check, not a lot. Because I think subscribers, you gotta post like stuff all the time. I'm not a YouTuber.
But if it's I'm just curious because if it's on there and eventually you get to 1,000, you can end up monetizing through that one video. Like it depends on how many views you have and all that stuff. So that's all. That's the reason I asked.
Oh, okay, yeah. I never like in terms of the YouTube thing. I know that the price of stream, because before you could just put a video monetized. I think because of the extremist thing, they don't have the same type of deals.
The guidelines and stuff. You just have to have 4,000 watch views and 1,000 subscribers.
Okay.
So if you're anywhere around there, then
you can get it.
Monetizing, yeah.
I'm focused on other things,
Yeah.
It's a cool thing,
that's the
though.
thing, you say that, right? You say I'm focused on other things.
I was like, whatever,
you
forget that.
4 months plus 2 weeks, like on this whole project. That's like not UnDelay.
I'm on the next project.
Okay.
But I say 4 months sparingly, like weekends, some nights here and there. But I say that totality of 4 months. But it was more like a side thing. Like people play. Some people play video games, or some people, you know, do random stuff. But I mean, I don't play video games, so I try to like, you know, just have my. It looks like people say, you know, like, you know, they ask like how I'm doing this, that, and the third. But it's like these are fun things to me, you know. But like in terms of business and making money, I only like to concentrate on underlay, right? But other stuff, it's like I feel like I slack a little bit on. But it appears that I'm full time. I put my heart in it, but I really just like, you know, hearing it, work hard, press. All right, I'm off it. All right, I'm on it. You know, it's kind of, but I just make sure I complete it. You know, so it comes off interesting.
What's your work ethic when it comes to UnDelay then? Like,
Oh,
what
1,000.
were you doing with UnDelay during your filming process?
Oh, same things, development. During COVID, a lot of things slow. I wasn't able to go to conferences the same, but really just development, working, you know, got a partner probably like this year. But a lot of things were slow, just talking to different customers. But just because of the industry, it's tough.
What's the, as a startup, I'm trying to understand the world of like being a startup, because you said like the first thing your mind went to is like you weren't able to go to conferences. So my mind says, is the productivity, like is the way you measure productivity, the more conferences you get to go to, the more exposure your app gets, the like higher your odds increase of you getting picked up by a good investor?
I mean, with conferences, exposure to our customers, right? 'Cause you need revenue. You gotta focus on revenue startup, and of course, I think, you know, every startup should just focus on revenue, getting with customers, product development, and then, you know, starting off that way, and then, you know, to scale a successful business model, then you reach out to investors to scale faster than, you know, your competitors that are coming for you. You know, the ones you see and the ones that you don't. But conferences are a way to get that customer traction, right? So let's say if I was an app like Facebook or something, or a social media app, and I wanted to market, you know, my application to different people, you know, I don't think, you know, well, even Twitter went to South by Southwest, you know, that's how they blew up, which was a conference, but I wouldn't necessarily go to like business conferences, you know, I'd market in different ways on social media, how it was, like how it is now. You know, how YouTube kind of used MySpace to market their early stages, or like latch on to, you know, viral marketing campaigns or shareability features. But for you know, a lot of B2B startups, they focus on conferences to build relationships with people.
Got it. And so that's your revenue generating activity.
Yeah, the contracts that I've landed were through conferences, smaller contracts.
Got it. Okay. I'm understanding. So I'm trying to put this into context. So, and remember, I coach people who are trying to exit their job from their 9 to 5, right? And so as I'm hearing you, I talk about revenue generating activity and then non-revenue generating activity. So if I want to have a startup, a tech startup that is, and let's say I created like an Instagram page for UnDelay, that would be non-revenue generating activity, right? And then the revenue generating would like be conferences and what else? I
mean, I would say Instagram page would be revenue generating, because it could be a lead generating.
Absolutely, passively.
Yeah, and even though like I don't, you know, like a lot of business customers, I wouldn't say go on Instagram, they're more like LinkedIn. But I still have an IG page, you know, just because with her, as well as Twitter. You know, a lot of people look to Twitter. I just make sure IG, Twitter, LinkedIn are all consistent. You know, because you never know what people go on, right?
Absolutely.
But I would say they all serve the same purpose, but I focus my efforts on conference and relationship building.
Do you have a particular like pitch that you go to like with?
So it changed so much, because I feel like I started off with winning a hackathon for the airport. Then, you know, I was in, you know, Africa, won money for that to put back in business, to land another contract to help predict flight delays, and then, you know, pivoted the company again. Because, you know, landing smaller contracts, getting like, you know, like to ones to tens, thousands of revenue or grants or money, but not like making hundreds of thousands of dollars or monthly recurring revenue that was sustainable. So, did that answer your question, or did that go off?
You answered my question. I might even got lost in the response a little bit myself, but
I kind of got lost. I'm like, dang, where am I going?
I'm in there like, wait a minute.
I like pull it back. I was talking like, yo, I got it, and then I'm like, oh, no, I don't
Well,
have
you
it.
were talking about revenue generating activity. You focus on business relationships, and then you were talking about how it's different. Like you focus on you make sure all your platforms are consistent, and then LinkedIn being more profitable from a business perspective, but B2B.
Yeah, cause I think for me, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter for us is just for show. Like I think in terms of conferences, direct sales, direct calls, or
I asked you about your pitch.
oh, the pitch. Okay, what did I pitch to different companies? I said like a random things. Now the pitch would just be my intro, saying, hey, how's it going? We're UnDelay. This is what we do. This is how we do it. What we do is, we analyze radio conversations from over 800 airports worldwide. And then from that, we dissect the different delay calls. So let's say there's a maintenance issue, an engine problem, or a congestion problem, or a runway problem, that we could determine the timestamp on that with our data processing, aggregation methods, as well as artificial intelligence and machine learning capabilities.
Mm-hmm. And that's valuable to your ideal customer because what?
Definitely. So this is valuable to airlines because airlines, in terms of track records, they want to see, okay, what happened at certain times. We're in talks with Sun Express right now. Just signed NDAs. We'll move.
Sun Express?
Sun Express, a European joint venture between Turkish Airlines and Lufthansa. But just to really improve their operations and keep track of what's going on at certain times and integrate our APIs, hopefully in operation control centers, dashboards by different dispatchers, ground operation managers. Like I've seen different dashboards of workers at a different airlines like American, or I'm not sure. Oh, this was years ago, but yeah, well, just American. That they had dashboards showing which flights were delayed, but why the flights were delayed. What propagated that delay. That intelligence exists. But you want to scan for that, analyze it, and that's what we specialize in. That's how we move forward to be a better company in that specific field.
Mm-hmm. And add value to companies that aren't necessarily utilizing the data to the best of their ability.
Exactly. That's for airlines. Like for airports, we want to analyze runway congestion to make airports operate more efficiently. Analyze bird strikes because airports are responsible to get rid of a lot of the birds like in different regions.
Birds.
Yeah.
Like physical birds.
Yeah, physical bird. And when a plane hits birds, well, I mean, through the airport, like let's say a plane hits a bird, right? Like you want to have different ways to not like kill the birds, but like repel, like this.
Okay, so make sure that they're not in the line of sight.
Yeah, like there's different ways to repel. Like, have you ever been to Greyhound Station? They have those pins. I feel like to repel different birds, like because you don't want them to get hurt, right? The plane will kill a lot of them, so it's like we don't want to kill all the birds in the world. So this is finding out different methods to kind of clear that, to make that better. And also like runway congestion, just trying to make sure the operations are more efficient. So those on the airport and air traffic control. So creating those systems to help improve those methods, as well as for travel companies, just giving them the data that different users like or different competitors we have like OAG, FlightAware, Flight Stats. A lot of those companies are data providers, but we specialize in the techs around that data. So adding data to those API suites, a lot of companies find valuable. Any company that use flight data analytics, would need our company as well.
That makes sense. This conversation reminds me of my days working in data specifically, but I was more so in like metadata. So like customer search, customer like travel patterns and things like that. So. And the metadata that's available on like travel, like what segments they flew where, and who flew twice, and that kind of stuff. Like the way that we were even leveraging that type of data was very limited. So if I can imagine the world that you're tapping into in terms of like using like the functionality of the available data, that's a huge market.
Yeah, and that's how the world is now because there's billions and billions of rows of data being generated. However, it's just, okay, what are we going to do with it? We know there's data out there. We know people are doing X, Y, and Z, but who's going to, create something that creates value and adds value to what we're doing and takes that data to have real decisions to save money or make money. And that's the end. That's the end goal.
Ask question? How do you...
Right.
Right.
Hey.
You're here for questions. How do you... This might be a dumb question.
No such thing.
Right. Well, how do you access the data? Did you create your own platform?
No, third-party resources.
Sources the data. Okay.
So we're like data aggregator. We're not a data creator. So all the other data that we scan is just aggregate, but we don't actually create that data. So like we're not the ones listening on different airports, and we can, right? We're in discussions to do that, but we aggregate different public data sources.
So you pay for the data, and then you manipulate the data to like tell the story and talk and like help them understand like where the delays are.
Yeah, we pay for cloud services to be able to scan for that data.
Scan for the data. You still have to help me understand.
So we our technology costs money. So like in terms of like let's say if you build an app, you might push the app in the app store, right? But it might cost you like $10 a month to run like different backend services for people to be able to log in. Or like let's say you build a website. Like, I know you for podcasts, or like say you have your own branding website and you pay for hosting.
Yeah.
Right, that's like a service that you pay for. That's on the back end side. So we have like I guess things like that. If I'm explaining it right. Yeah. If I'm explaining it right, hopefully, I think that's a good explanation.
Okay. And it might just be because I don't understand.
No, it's my fault.
In my career in data, I'm always on the end. So I've been a data person within a big company who provides the data for me to analyze.
Yeah.
But as an entrepreneur, the only data that I have available is like my social media, any data that comes through my site, any data that I can capture. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like the data that's captured from these places, you aggregate the data, right? You're telling me that there's data that's being captured in these other places.
Well, we capture it. So like let's say if people are online talking about radio conversations. Like if you live near the airport, like you could listen to radio conversations right now. If you're like within I think 2-5 mile radius, I'm not sure the exact radius, but you can listen to those conversations. So people broadcast those conversations, broadcast those signals all the time. So we just listen to those conversations.
And that's free data. Is that so? That's
free, is public data.
Got it. And the thing you pay for is the software that allows you to hear the conversations.
Yeah, we are the software that allows us to hear conversations. But we pay. Well, I mean, we're like how like everybody pays for like Google, AWS. Like that's what I'm trying to say. We pay. Like we don't like. We are the solution, but like everybody hosts different services. Like let's say it's like for Firebase, not to say that we ain't know. I mean, like it's not super proprietary. Like everybody uses a little bit of Firebase, but let's say like I paid, Google Cloud, like maybe $10 a month to run some cloud functions.
That's interesting. This is a whole nother world.
Okay, I'm trying to explain it well, because of course, but I think does it make sense?
It does make sense, because the way that I envision it is like there's data out there available, and
we bring it all together.
You bring it all together because it's free data, it's available, but people just don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the whole world. Like in terms of the reason why machine learning, because AI has always been out there. Like sensors, robotics, for a minute, but the reason why AI really took it on is because machine learning, all the data is being generated. So, just in terms of the direction of the future, companies that focus in this realm are really taking off because they understand the industry to where they can see the data points that can connect to solve the business case for this data, right? So that's why I stay in the airline industry, because I understand. That's how.
Okay. Thank you so much for watching the Work and Play podcast. This episode is sponsored by the Boss Up Conference, which is a community for entrepreneurs, CEOs, celebrities, and corporate executives to come together, network, and solve some problems. Thank y'all so much for being supporters of the Work and Play podcast. And thank you for watching the Work and Play podcast and all the episodes before. Now let's get back to the episode.
Makes sense.
All right, so there are business people out here trying to solve problems for their customer, right? So let's say an airline has a customer problem, and they're trying to fix the customer problem, but they don't know how to solve the customer problem. For example, delays. Like, I want to make this operation smoother for my customer. I just don't know how. Your company is like, hey, well, there's operations data out there, I've aggregated it. I can tell a story about, okay, 3 of your flights are consistently late because of X, Y, and Z. And now you know what to do in your operations to make the customer happy. Is that the business proposition behind using your service?
So I would say yes. I would say I would say yes. I would say yes. Because I mean because the thing is that yes, like, you know, and everything is made to make the customer happy. Right? So let's say yes, like in terms of even what large enterprises do, and they all do, is they all look at their data sources and say, okay, you know, as a product manager, they say, okay, how can I use different parts of the website, you know, to, you know, make their customers' journey to website more efficient,
right,
or even at a plane. And then, you know, just to take that a step further, it's like, you know, they might take like 4 or 5 data points, but I might take 4 or 5 million. You know, so because, like, you know, if you take 4 or 5 data points, right, then I could say if the customer goes this way, show them this experience. If a customer, you know, searches this in the Google engine, right, show them this part of the website for SEO. But let's say if 1 million customers go through 6 different experiences in multiple different ways, I could input that in my system and say, well, not like, I'm just like gonna, like, example, I can't do that with our company. We don't do that type of stuff. But let's say if theoretically, like, I put that in my system, then I create an API that can generate a prediction to where if you're the 6 million and 1 customer, I can kind of predict where you'll go for efficiency, because I can't hard code that example of this experience, because let's say the 6 experiences could be 6 million, right? So I can't hard code 6 million different
user experiences.
Experiences, or like 6 million different paths, you know? So like for that, it's the scalability of those selections. So that's why natural language processing is coming in, because let's say for every airport around the world, like we can scan 800, but let's say for the airport in Atlanta, you know, you have those, you know, you have the southern accents, right? So I know they say things a little differently than when they say LAX, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I can't hard code their phrases, right, or the ways they say things versus LAX and versus France, you know, versus Germany versus Canada, right? Because they all have different accents, different types of operations, right? Like, so Atlanta airport operates differently from Wyoming. I flew to Wyoming, and there's like that airport is like a shack, like there's like a couple places on the runway. So I'm sure like one person's pretty much doing everything. You know, like huge, looks like a shack type because it's cold down there, but you know, Atlanta's hot. So like, you know, and it's huge, so different types of operations. But to use AI, you can put all those decisions in one system, and it can give you a confidence interval instead of hard coding all those possibilities, because it's impossible.
I get it.
Yes. Yes.
Because, okay, so one, I just posted a post on my page. Geniuses aren't geniuses because they know about like complex problems. Geniuses are geniuses because they know how to make they know how to exploit the simplicities of the world, right?
Yeah.
And so, if I'm in the right track, you're a genius. Because
Thank you, I appreciate that.
If I'm on track.
One day I'll be.
No, there's no one day. We're born geniuses. If you're a genius, you're born that way. So if I'm on the right track, then you have to confirm. If I'm not, then I'm like, ooh, sorry.
Okay, I'm gonna focus. Go ahead. I think you got it. I seen like the light bulb pop up. You know, it was like right there. Nah, so
the data that is out there are the transmissions that are happening between pilot and like dispatching, right?
Yeah.
This is verbal data. It's verbal data, and it's not currently being captured because like it's just not. It's not being transcribed into like concise, not even just concise, consolidated experiences, right? Where like you catch a phrase and you're saying, how many times is this thing said? Now, when this thing is said, you know, whether it's like bird in the way, like if I hear bird, then I know that this is a bird incident, right? You can capture data off of like free flowing conversations that are happening between these like platforms. You take the data, you code it, you then, you know, when you said accents, that's when I understood, because in Atlanta, they might say bird, like, and then in LA, they might say bird, whatever, like, and so your system is capturing as many instances of, like, they're trying to match as many, like, birds as they can and to create, like, a data system that now you can tell a story and say, hey, bird delays are actually affecting your operations.
Yeah. Perfect. Exactly. That's it. Because think about you as an end user, right? Like, if I feed that data to you as a user, you don't care how it was said. You just want to know the bird strike and the time.
Yes.
It's my problem to figure out how it was said, does this saying make sense? What's the pattern? And I have all those problems to figure out, but I had to just give you the output. So
that's lit. Now that I understand your business, because it took me a while. Clearly, my brain was working. You as a person, remember I said before we even started this podcast, like, you and I connected really just as people. I never even, like, too much talked to you about work or how smart you were or any of the stuff that you had going on. Now, one of your business partners was my business partner, like, on a data function, but you and I never talked about anything regarding data. So it's kind of interesting to hear, like, you from a professional perspective, because I never.
Yeah, we'll just chop it up.
Yeah, we would just literally just chop it up. So I have a question for you, because when we would chop it up, you were just, like, matter of fact about, like, hey, no, this is just a job, like, this isn't whatever. And I'm curious, I've heard a lot of your, like, decisions along, like, choosing a career that makes money. It just so happened to be a passion of tech, that kind of stuff. What was, like, your parents, what would you say is, like, the number one philosophy that you still live by as an adult that was passed on to you, or at least planted in you as a seed when you were a child?
Work hard. Just work hard. Keep working, work hard. And then,
what is the definition of work hard, though?
Just try your best. I mean, it's not like, success, you never, like, people have so many different definitions of success. Some people like, oh, you gotta be a millionaire, or you gotta be a billionaire, or, really it's just about, you gotta do, really what you want to do. Like, I say work hard is just, putting all your time into just trying to accomplish what you can, and, like, success or fail or accomplish or not accomplish, at least you could say you spent a lot of your time trying to get the job done. That's working hard to me. Really, like, and then for me, like, I've been doing, different things on, like, pivoting constantly for a couple of years. I mean, movie stuff, and, even working a job. It's like, I mean, of course, like, people say, you work hard, but it's really just about, just spending most of your time, just doing what you're trying to do. Like, a lot of people want to do different things, but they just don't put the time in to do it. And it's really about working a little bit every single day, whether that's reading, whether that's, typing, calling, coding, whatever thing you do, but just do a little bit every day. That's working hard to me. Just keep trekking, like, keep chopping away at it.
I got you. What do your parents think about, like, all the things that you do, from films to, like, tech stuff? And then even when you got your, hold on, now that I think about it, what did they say when you left your job with the flight benefits?
Oh, it's just like oh, it's okay. Yeah, it was a quiet conversation. That's how it is. Like, when you get flight benefits, like, all your friends think you give them all buddy passes. All your family was like, oh, we're going everywhere, traveling the world. But, first of all, no, not everybody understands what non-revenue or standby means. So they think that, you could just fly anywhere, anytime. But then I realized you get stuck. Did you get stuck in Vegas a couple of days?
I did.
I told you about that story. I'm like, yo, my friend got stuck for days.
Man,
and Vegas is tough.
It is.
Vegas is
it's
tough
easy
one.
to get in, but it's hard to get out.
What's crazy? I've been to Vegas, South Africa, London. Like, I'm always on the bottom of the list, but I always gotten in and out of places because I always take the earliest flight. Like, I've always taken the earliest flight, but I've navigated that well. But I think like, I couldn't do it for too long. I'm like, you get tired. That's a lifestyle. That's definitely a, like, post grad lifestyle that I think everybody should feel. for 2 years for the benefits, you know. But it's just tough.
So your parents just had to like suck it up.
Yeah,
And
suck it up.
We want the best for you.
But I'm sure they got tired after a amount of time, you know.
Oh, they didn't like it either.
Nah, I'm sure they like it's free, but it's it's just time. At the time, you know, that's when it was like a high capacity. I'm not sure how it is now, but.
What you mean with high
capacity? In terms of
capacity?
like how the capacity is in terms of if you can get in a plane or not. I don't know how it is
It's
now.
probably even worse now, honestly. I mean, now that the layoffs and stuff have happened, it might even be a little bit easier. There was a time when I was still using my benefits or whatever. My mom actually ended up getting a job when I left because she was like, I want my flight benefits. So, yeah, it was crazy. My mom is a trip, but she's like me. So she was like, I don't care. I'm going to do what I need to do to get it. So that's interesting. So you are now... you know, putting all the things that you wanted to do like in place. Is there anything that you have not tapped into as a skill set, or do you feel like you've kind of been able to explore your talents at this point?
I think I could be a much better painter. I think that the brush that I've had since I was 13. The problem is I took it to the painting store. They said these brushes are no longer manufactured. So I've had that, but I need that brush. But the thing is, that brush, like, I feel like I didn't take care of it as good when I was 13 that I'll take care of it now. So it's like a little still, so I need to figure out a way to replicate that brush. When I replicate that brush, then I feel like I'll pay more. But it's like my magic brush. You know, I need that brush.
You do so much. Well, how would you feel if I were to say like, you know, like so conventional wisdom, like if you read certain personal development books, the wisdom would say focus on one thing. Right? If you focus on one thing, you can reach your level of success more efficiently, and it's more likely that you'll reach your level of success when you focus on one thing. How do you feel about that type of guidance?
Oh, I mean, now everybody does multiple things now. Like I think that it was the preconceived notion that, you know, that people want to appear like they, you know, I feel like the look of like appearing that, okay, you're all in was only. You can only appear all in if you're only doing one thing. And that's why I feel like people gravitated to that one thing mindset, but I think that's an older mindset. Like now you have like a lot of, you know, people have hobbies. People have things they're doing. Like the only thing in terms of like revenue and things I'm like making money from UnDelay, right? But in terms of like hobbies, like, you know, why not learn other things? Like I don't want to spend the next 15, 20 years of my life learning only one thing on tech. You know, there's so much other things to enjoy. Right, everybody should pick up like random hobbies. Try painting, you know, even if it doesn't come out the way you want it. You know, try something artistic. You know, try acting like, you know, do as much as you can when you got one life.
I think also hearing you have you have one definitive goal, and that's to get UnDelay to be $1 billion.
Yeah, $1 billion company.
And, other things that you're doing just ended up being cool. Like,
yeah, plus and minus, you know, like it would be cool. It would be a famous actor, you know, famous actor, be funny. I'd be like a funny guy, be like, you know, just appear in some movies and be done, you know, or like, you know, be a huge painter and like sell. Well, I mean, if I have $1 million painting, I would just have it valued that, but I'd probably still keep it and just keep it in a vault because it's like so prized that like, okay, I gotta like, you know, store it like in the coast of Iceland or somewhere, you know. You know, I don't know, or Greenland or something like that, you know. But, you know, or Greenland, because that's the one that's close to us. So I was storing close to Greenland, or maybe put in Antarctica or something like that. But I don't know, you know, it's just like, of course, yeah, I love tech and like that's the main thing. But, you know, you gotta have like, I think you gotta have artistic things that, you know, to just, you know, make you happy. But of course, like, UnDelay takes precedence over everything.
Over everything.
You know, so, you know, I'm not gonna stop UnDelay for painting a picture. You know, like if a customer said they need something done by 12 a.m., I'm not gonna say, you know, look, I'm almost done with this painting. It's really nice. You know.
Yeah.
But it's like,
you got your priorities.
Yeah, I got my priorities, but it's like, you know, we want to spend some time doing other things. Like instead of like, you know, I cut TV times. A lot of people watch, you know, probably watch shows like hours. And I try to like limit it, maybe 1 hour one day, you know, and then I focus on other things. But
now you said a painting doesn't take precedence over UnDelay. But what if there's like
the movie.
Nah, okay, movie. Yeah, let's go movie.
No, the thing is,
Yeah, we'll fly you
the
out
thing,
to LA for $1 million.
if they pay me $1 million, I'm like, well, that's my Series A, Series A funding. I'd take that deal. But it's like, I mean, like to get to a point where they pay you $1 million for a movie is so far. People like these actors are working unpaid for 20 years, and even the people that you see like are 25 and young or my age, they've been acting since they were kids. You know, like I've done one thing and it was funny, you know, and if I get famous here, then, you know, presumably that's cool. But my goal, I'm not gonna say write down a goal is make $1 million off a movie, because I understand, and I looked up different people's salaries, how they differ movies, and I know they've been acting for a long time. And I'm like, it's not financially, it's just not. That's not something I'm pursuing. I'm not interested in.
How long would you say you've been doing tech? Like, how long would you give it? Like since 5 years old till now? Like, when did you start working in tech for real?
In tech, for real, I mean, honestly, when I graduated, I mean, because my senior year was supposed to be mechanical. I was supposed to be a mechanical engineer, but I never really been in mechanical engineering. So ever since I graduated and started, you know, working for Delta,
You've been in tech.
I've been in tech.
But were you a tech kid growing up?
Not really. I mean, I wouldn't say tech. I mean, I looked up science. Science. You know, everybody does science fair stuff.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what computer science was. So I went to Howard.
You didn't know what computer science was until you went to Howard, and you still didn't decide to do computer science.
Yeah, because I kind of ventured in. Like I built apps and websites. Well, so my sophomore year, I started looking at building apps and websites. So I guess I could say I've been in tech since my sophomore year at Howard.
Sophomore year at Howard.
So I didn't understand tech and all that stuff. Like, I mean, because everybody does. You know, you do the Coke, you know, Mentos, Coke, like, you know, explosion.
Yeah,
you know,
of course, that's the
you know,
cool one.
the cool one. You know, stuff like that, science stuff like that, science excavation. You know, like, you know, digging up, you know, like rocks, excavating rocks, like, you know, small stuff, but not like, you know, computer science, artificial intelligence, like hardcore engineering. I didn't do that stuff till I went to Howard. It's so cool. I mean, it costs a lot of money to, well, not computer science, but like, you know, mechanical engineering. You need a lot of equipment for that stuff. And computer science, it's more about exposure. You know, I just wasn't. I mean, it's a new topic. Well, it's not a new topic, but it's like, it's a growing topic. I would say everybody in the world kind of feel like, you know, knows about it or knows what it is by now.
I got you. In the world of, like, you know, diversity and inclusion, you're in the tech space, and I can only imagine you're like one of a few Black people in your space. Would I be right?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the global landscape, yeah, like there's not a lot of minorities in tech.
And you mentioned earlier, you were like, you know, because we are Black people and wanting to like represent us from a certain perspective. Does being Black, does the identity of being Black drive a large part of what you do, or is it just like you recognize that you're a Black person and it stops there?
Yeah, I just recognize it. Like if people walk up to you and be like, you know, even before all the George Floyd stuff, like, I mean, Tulsa, like, I was, you know, my mom told me about my stuff when I was a kid. So I mean, people would say, you know, do this and work hard, you'll be here, and, you know, you'll make it up the ladder, blah blah blah, and that stuff. It just goes right through me, because I know that there's certain systems in place to establish racism to make sure I don't go to those points. So I know that if I were to go, of course, you know, you have to strive to be something. You can't just say that the world is against you because you're Black, but at the same time, you have to know that, you know, people are lying to you when they tell you about a lot of goals that you can't reach, right? They put up a facade or show symbols of, you know, what, you know, this should happen, but it's not happening. So you have to understand that and really just trust your instinct and different signs to how to get to where you need to go. But, you know, it could be unconventional or not usual, or, you know, you have to look at it a different way. Like, I mean, after the George Floyd Black Lives Matter movement, like, I mean, everything got exposed. So I think the world is like really different from the first time we met, but a lot of stuff was more hidden. So, I mean, I always saw it, but it's kind of, I kind of knew it. And I was like, okay, this is how it is. I just got to figure out my own path, and, you know, of course, I'm shoot for it. But, you know, whatever happens. I work my whole life and shoot for it. But, you know, if it didn't happen, I wouldn't, like, you know, cry about it. You know, and I wouldn't even, you know, like, of course, like, even if it was race, I wouldn't blame the race. I'll try to just say, okay, I didn't make it happen, right? But I just knew that I know it's going to be harder, right? I think they say it takes about 40 pitches for some people to get investment. You know, if you're black, you know, they probably doubles, right?
How many do you have in the bank?
I would say, well, I mean, I have some here and there, but I would say I miscount, but a lot of mine have been revenue focused. I didn't have right revenue traction. Like I blame like my ability in terms of what I was unable to do. Like, I don't blame
your skill of
my
pitching,
skill.
you mean?
Yeah, my skill of developing
Developing
the product.
like,
yeah,
okay.
developing the company, like
the company.
yeah, like the business cases and understanding. Okay, like how can this make it? Like, cause there are like before when I first started off, there was a lot of flaws of like, you know, my execution. Of course, I was like, I think like 21. So I mean, I was just gunning for it. So it was a lot that I didn't understand in terms of, you know, business and applications, and there's so much I didn't understand. So I had to learn a lot about a lot of things, and you know, I blame it on that and not, you know, race. Like for me individually, but I know a lot of people that I feel like, you know, had a lot of great things that didn't get what they needed to do, probably because of race. But I won't make that excuse for me.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. We can even like when it comes to our experiences, I think it's really great that you're taking ownership of the development that it takes for you to actually get to where you want to go, and then even being cognizant of the racial lines and barriers that you might encounter, which still comes with experience to navigate those situations. So I think life experience has taught you to learn more about business, and then life experience is going to teach you how to pitch better, and then life experience is going to teach you how to navigate through like your skin color. So you
gotta navigate.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm just agreeing that, you know, you definitely gotta navigate. You have to see the world for what it is, and of course, like there's people going through things everywhere. Like these problems exist everywhere throughout the world. So I mean, you just gotta address them. Like you have to fight through it. Like, yeah, you gotta probably fight through it differently than other people, but at the same time, you can't just say, okay, you know, I don't want to do anything in my life because the world is too difficult.
Absolutely.
You know, but you have to recognize that it's a thing.
Yeah.
And you have to see where it's very, very like much harder to do versus, you know, what's possibly easier to do or what you can do. You know, you have to just navigate the system, read the room, but just, you know, being that way, you have to, you know, if you want to get to some places quickly, you have to just learn it quickly. So it's tough.
Cool. I appreciate you joining me on the couch. It's been actually you and I feel like I learned a lot.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. You know,
this has been lit. So as we close, I would like to know because you do a lot of stuff, and I think you do them just because they're hobbies and you enjoy it. But then I also feel like if you didn't do it, then you wouldn't necessarily be able to see what you're capable of putting out there in the world. So when I ask you this question, it's one to like reflect on your experience, but then also to like get perspective or share perspective to someone who needs to get to where you are today. So like, what's your definition, or what's the meaning of self-actualization to you?
So I mean, what it means to me, because I mean, I never heard. I don't think like
self-actualization.
Just like
like being able to actualize the human being that you are, and to allow yourself to grow as whatever you're going to turn into, and utilize your gifts in whatever way that the world or whatever's been planted into you is supposed to come to fruition. Like that's what it means to me. But the way you live your life, it just screams like purpose. Like it screams like wanting to become self-actualized in a way that feels good to you. But how would you explain it?
Yeah, I would say it's just I mean, for me, it's a kind of instinct, but I would say like
Instinct.
I feel like I see something, I'm just like, I'll do it. I'm just like, well, why not? You know, but I think for people that, like a lot of people that want to do stuff or like, you know, just sometimes need to find like that fire to do it. You know, like everyone comes to something, but they can't find like a reason for it. I don't know, just like try to find it. Like I mean, because when I see something, I'm like, you know, do I want to do it or not? I'm like, let me try. Like I would say inch closer to closer, because I think people see it, they see that they try a little bit and say, okay, I'm not getting to that finish line. But I think for me, I inch closer and closer, but I don't rush myself. I think that's a huge thing. Like, I just try to do multiple things. Like, okay, cool, this is cool, but I'm like maybe like, you know, it looks like I'm always like pressing myself to get these things done at a certain time, but I'm really like just doing it little by little all the time. So it looks like I'm pressing myself to get all these things like done, but it's really just little by little, you know, constantly just working on it, but not stressing myself. So I think people put too much pressure on themselves by not accomplishing certain things in a certain amount of time. Like, but a lot of people want to build their own app. A lot of people want to code, and then, you know, they code a little bit and they say, I can't do it. And I think that's because they want the app built tomorrow. But, you know, take it like, you know, I think it took me a year and a half to really push my own app. I'm just learning, Googling different things, learning how to code. And I just did it little by little every day. But I think people rush themselves too much and then quit because they don't see the results too fast.
That's a word. I don't even know you intended to be that deep today.
You know, it's cool. You know, it's fire away. Ask me anything.
That's fine. No, I think for you to be younger, you definitely have, you know, a hold on being able to just kind of navigate and like you said, follow your instincts.
Yeah, follow instincts. Instincts kind of drive me, or like, you know, of course, like your intelligence. You know, you need intelligence to make a lot of, you know, smart decisions. But at the end of the day, you gotta go with your gut feeling. You know, you have all the things, have all the information in front of you. You're just kind of like, all right, that's what I gotta do. Push the button.
That's real. I did another post like about like indecision, and I was like, you know, the best way to get over like indecision to make a decision.
Yeah.
You
might just close your eyes.
Because like you said, I believe like once you have a certain level of intelligence, you're not like making a crapshoot. You're making 3 informed decisions. You just don't know which one to choose. So at this point, there's no bad decision. Once you get to a point where you have 3 good decisions, there's no bad decision. You just have to take your step.
Yeah, like in terms of my process, and, you know, a lot of people, you know, there's plus and minuses to it, you know, but a lot of people want, like, I feel like some people that are too perfectionist, and then they say, okay, I can't push the button until I have a year more information, right? So they spend years and years and years trying to perfect something when they had just now information they needed to do it, you know, in the first year. Or you have some people, you know, that don't do it well enough to where they're like, you know, I'll just quit. Like, you know, they push something like, you know, it didn't work out, so I don't want to do it at all. But they still want it to happen. So, I mean, I'm kind of like, you know, getting that 80 to 90% tile and that feeling of, okay, I think this is good enough, and just push it, whatever you're trying to do. You know, like, I don't think you should be waiting until something is 100% perfect, or, you know, or pushing it to where it's like, you know, or stopping because, you know, it only went to like 60%. You know, just try to get into that middle range.
Fabulous.
The higher range, I guess.
Yeah. Keep pushing and tweaking until you can get to the 90s.
Yeah, all the 90s. You know, just like if you do something. So, you know, like at every job, or every, like in a real world, like in every class assignment. Well, I'll start in college. Like in every class assignment, like, you know, of course you want to get 100 on every essay. You know, you want to shoot for that A. You know, of course, like, you know, you want to have the highest grades. But in the real world, it's like, you know, deadlines constantly change. Sometimes you gotta push something out and it's not the best. You're like, damn, we don't have time. You know, so it's just like you want to have it the best, but you gotta push things out in a certain amount of time. And, you know, sometimes you just sink or swim. And, you know, you hope you don't sink, but it's just like you gotta push things out. So you gotta give yourself deadlines and certain things. Like, I mean, just like for that editing, you know, like a lot of people say you do not rush the editing process. And I'm like, you know what, you're right. If I spent 2 or 3 months, you know, editing that film, I think it would have been much greater. But then I wouldn't have had $3,500. So, you know, and then I needed a lot of processing power to do it, because my computer's crashing all the time. I'm like, man, this is crazy. Like, and then it was like, you know, it was a brand new iMac, and I heard sounds, and it was like slow, and I was like, well, I spent $3,500 to do this. Like, you know, I could only imagine, you know, how much more I had to spend to like make it faster, make it like have a better laptop, do the video processing. I'm like, it wasn't in the budget, so it's a tough call to make, you know. And that's why I think a lot of CEOs of companies that like grew from like 0 to 1,000, like, you know, CEOs like, you know, Elon Musk, like Mark Zuckerberg, even like Calendly, you know, they just reached a $1 billion valuation. A lot of those CEOs, they just have that vision to what to do at a certain time. You know, nothing is perfect. Like, I'm sure that the first applications weren't perfect, but they just knew how to get those initial adopters, customers, investors at the right time.
Yeah.
You know, so that foresight, that Steve Jobs foresight is just something that's just, you know, so incredible. What to do at the right time. That's the hardest thing to do.
Hey guys, it's Ariel from the Work and Play podcast. If you're getting any value from this channel, and I mean anything from the tutorials to the podcast to the random videos that you see on this channel, then I just ask that you do one thing. Please subscribe. Subscribe and share this to anyone that you think this resonates with, and drop a comment below so I know what other things that you want to see next. Now let's get back to the episode. You're doing it to the best of your ability, following your instincts, so let's see where that leads you.
Yeah, facts.
Let's do it. Well, thank you so much for joining me on the couch.
Oh, no problem. Appreciate you for having me.
Absolutely.
It's been a while.
It has been. Look, like y'all got to witness us reconnect after years.
Yeah, it's been years. I'm like, oh, it has been. Cause I see you on IG, so I feel like I see you, but like I'm like, you know, I haven't really seen you in like a long time.
Nah, and I feel like you just created an IG like almost a year ago.
Yeah, I definitely did create an IG like that. I definitely did not have like any social media for a long time.
Yeah.
And then my friends like, wow, like you like joined Earth, and I'm like, for real.
Right, you just popped in, and I was like, okay, well, what up?
I kind of live in my own world, you know. It's kinda how I'm doing.
Well, hey, that's good, and for you to be a millennial and do that, that's actually like a rebellious thing for you to do. So
yeah, you know, everybody thinks you're crazy now. I'm like, if you talk to people, you know, they be like, you on IG? Oh, he must be crazy. or hiding something.
That's exactly what our age thinks. For sure.
Facts.
Like, how do you not? Anywho, if there's anybody out here who watched your story, listened to your story, and they want to connect with you, or they want to learn how they can invest or work with you, how can they get connected with you?
Definitely feel free to follow me on LinkedIn. Feel free to email me at safir.monroe@undelayApp.com. Feel free to reach out to any aviation experts that would love to talk about UnDelay and see how we could talk to the organization to, you know, pilot test our project. And hopefully, you know, if they want to check our website. And also, we just launched the monthly version of our product, which is $9.99 a month to sell, you know, data analytics for different radio transmissions, as well as, you know, we have a free version as well. So check that out. Contact me, and appreciate you guys for tuning in. Absolutely.
As a matter of fact, that link to get into his monthly subscription is going to be in the description below, whether you're listening or watching this. So thank y'all again for tuning in. Until next time, peace out.